The Void Nebula stretched across space like a massive purple cloud, hiding secrets that no one had ever discovered. For thousands of years, explorers had avoided this dangerous region. The swirling gases could destroy ships, and strange energy readings made navigation impossible. But today, something was different. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his exploration ship, the Meridian. His forearms worked quickly across the control panels as warning lights flashed red all around. The Zephyrian officer, had been exploring space for over 50 years, but he had never seen readings like these. "Captain," his sensor officer shouted from across the bridge, "the scanners are going crazy. There's something massive out there, hidden in the nebula's center." Veltar's large, black eyes focused on the main display screen. The readings showed an object so large it seemed impossible. "Run a full-spectrum analysis. I want to know exactly what we're looking at." The crew worked frantically at their stations. The Meridian was a small ship with only 20 crew members, but they were the best the Federation had for deep space exploration. They had discovered 3 new worlds in the past year alone. "Sir, the computer says it's artificial," the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. "It's not a planet or asteroid. Someone built this thing." Veltar felt his blood run cold. The object was bigger than any space station ever constructed. It was larger than some moons. How is that possible? No species in the galaxy has technology like that. The main screen flickered, then cleared to show the most incredible sight any of them had ever seen. Floating in the purple mists of the nebula was a ship that defied belief. It stretched nearly 3 kilometers from front to back, shaped like a massive arrowhead pointing toward the stars. The hull was made of some kind of dark metal that seemed to drink in the light around it. Even the bright stars in the background appeared dimmer near the mysterious vessel. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a soft blue light that pulsed in patterns like a heartbeat. "By the ancient gods," whispered Lieutenant Kexer, the ship's navigator. "What is that thing?" Captain Veltar had seen many wonders in his long career, but this vessel made him feel small and insignificant. The symbols on its hull seemed to move when he looked at them directly, shifting and changing in ways that made his eyes water. "All engines stop," he ordered. "Launch probe drones. I want detailed scans of that ship before we get any closer." The Meridian's small probe drones shot out toward the mysterious vessel like silver bullets. Their cameras and sensors transmitted data back to the ship, revealing more impossible details with each passing moment. The probe footage showed corridors inside the ship that were wide enough to fly smaller spacecraft through. Massive chambers stretched for hundreds of meters, their purposes unknown. Weapon systems lined the outer hull, but they were unlike anything in Federation databases. Some looked like they could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. "Captain, look at this," the sensor officer called out. "The ship's bridge is suspended in the middle of a sphere of pure energy. It's floating with no visible support." Veltar studied the readings. The energy surrounding the bridge was unlike anything known to science. It crackled and sparked with power that registered off their instrument scales. "Life signs?" he asked. "None that we can detect, sir. But there's definitely power flowing through the ship. It's not completely dead." For 2 hours, the probe drones mapped the exterior of the vessel. Every new discovery raised more questions. The ship appeared to be incredibly old, but its technology was far beyond anything the Federation had ever encountered. "Sir," the communications officer spoke up, "Fleet Command is requesting an update. They want to know if we need backup." Velt considered this. The ship appeared to be empty, but something this advanced could be dangerous. "Tell them we're proceeding with caution. Have them keep a battle group on standby, but at a safe distance." The decision was made to board the vessel. A team of 6 specialists prepared their equipment while the Meridian moved closer. The salvage team included an engineer, a computer specialist, a weapons expert, and 3 security officers. As their shuttle approached the mysterious ship, docking bay doors opened automatically. The team exchanged nervous glances. Someone or something knew they were coming. The shuttle settled onto a docking platform that adjusted its size to fit their small craft perfectly. The team stepped out into a corridor that stretched beyond the reach of their lights. The air was breathable, somehow perfectly suited to their species' needs. Then the lights came on. Emergency lighting flickered to life throughout the ship, revealing corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered with more of those strange, moving symbols. The team moved forward carefully, their weapons ready. That's when they heard it. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, speaking directly into their minds without using sound. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was. Unauthorized presence detected. Initiate standby protocol. The salvage team froze. The ship was alive, aware, and watching them. But when they tried to communicate, when they tried to access its systems, when they tried to understand its purpose, the ship remained silent. It had awakened, but it was waiting for something else, something they could not provide. Admiral Gwenthara stepped off her transport shuttle with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. Her crystalline body caught the light from the Void Nebula, casting rainbow patterns across the docking bay floor. For 300 years, she had commanded the most powerful fleets in the Vorthok Empire. Entire star systems had surrendered rather than face her in battle. "This primitive ship will bow to my will," she declared to her escort of Federation officials. Her voice rang like crystal bells, beautiful but cold. "My people have mastered technology that bends reality itself. Whatever built this vessel, it cannot resist Vorthok command protocols." The Federation observers followed nervously as Gwenthara made her way through the ship's massive corridors. Her crystalline form moved with fluid grace, each step creating small musical tones that echoed in the vast spaces. The strange symbols on the walls pulsed brighter as she passed, as if the ship was studying her. When they reached the bridge, the energy sphere still crackled with power around the captain's chair. Gwenthara studied it for a moment, then nodded with satisfaction. Primitive energy manipulation. My people transcended such crude methods millennia ago. She walked directly into the energy field without hesitation. The crackling power parted before her like water, allowing her to approach the captain's chair. The Federation officials held their breath as she reached out with one crystalline hand. The moment her fingers touched the chair's surface, everything changed. Brilliant force fields erupted around Gwenthara like cages of pure light. The energy didn't just contain her, it rejected her with such force that she was thrown backward against the bridge's rear wall. The ship's voice boomed through the chamber, cold and final. Genetic pattern rejected. Consciousness incompatible. Access denied. Gwenthara struggled against the force fields, her crystalline body blazing with power as she fought to break free. But the ship's defenses were absolute. After 10 minutes of futile struggle, she was released and escorted from the bridge, her pride shattered like her own crystal skin. 2 weeks later, Captain Mordugal arrived with great fanfare. The massive Krillian warrior stood 3 meters tall, his rocky skin scarred from countless battles. His species had conquered half their home sector through pure determination and an absolute refusal to accept defeat. "Weak alien technology," he growled, his voice like grinding stone. "The Krillian Empire has crushed civilizations that built ships like this. I will break this machine's will as I have broken my enemies." Mordugal's approach was direct and brutal. He stormed onto the bridge like a living avalanche, his massive fists crackling with bioelectric energy. The captain's chair seemed small beneath his towering form as he grabbed it with both hands. The ship's response was immediate and merciless. Energy tendrils, thick as tree trunks and blazing with power, erupted from the floor and walls. They wrapped around Mordugal like living chains, lifting his enormous bulk off the ground as if he weighed nothing. The Krillian warrior roared in fury, his body glowing with the internal fire that made his species so feared in battle. But the ship was stronger. The energy tendrils hurled Mordugal across the bridge with such violence that he crashed through the reinforced bulkhead. The impact left a massive crater in the wall. Medical teams rushed to treat his injuries: 3 broken ribs, a fractured arm, and severe energy burns across his rocky skin. That as they carried him away on a stretcher, was still muttering about impossible strength and technology that shouldn't exist. The third attempt came from the Etherian Collective, a species of pure mental energy that existed beyond physical form. They sent Sage Luxor, whose telepathic abilities were legendary across the galaxy. He could touch minds across entire star systems, reading thoughts and memories from impossible distances. Luxor appeared on the bridge as a shimmering form of golden light, his presence filling the chamber with warmth and peace. Unlike the previous attempts, he didn't try to physically interact with the captain's chair. Instead, he reached out with his mind, seeking to commune with the ship's consciousness directly. "Ancient vessel," his mental voice whispered through the bridge, "I come in peace, seeking understanding. Share your secrets with one who can comprehend them." What happened next would haunt the Federation. Observers for years to come. Luxor's golden form suddenly blazed with white-hot intensity. His peaceful presence became a screaming vortex of terror and pain. The sage's mental voice, usually so calm and wise, became a shriek of absolute horror. "Walls of fire," he screamed, his golden form flickering like a dying star. The sleeping gods. They wait, they remember. The makers will return. The telepathic explosion knocked every sentient being on the bridge unconscious. When they awoke, Luxor was gone, fled back to the Etherian collective. Reports later said he spent weeks in meditation, trying to forget what he had seen in the ship's mind. 6 months passed like a nightmare for Federation Command. 12 captains from 8 different species attempted to command the mysterious vessel. Each failure was more spectacular than the last. Commander Velcor of the Centauri Republic was frozen solid when he touched the chair, his body turning to ice in seconds. Captain Thane of the Rigel Confederacy was aged 100 years in an instant, his hair turning white and his skin wrinkled. The Andromedan twins, Zek and Zak, tried to interface with the ship's computer systems directly, only to have their cybernetic implants overload and explode. Each attempt was broadcast across the galaxy, turning the mysterious ship into a symbol of Federation failure. The most powerful military leaders in known space couldn't command a single vessel. Political pressure mounted as member worlds began to question the Federation's competence. "This is becoming a joke," declared Senator Vexenal during an emergency session of the Galactic Council. "Our greatest warriors and commanders are being defeated by an empty ship. We look weak to our enemies." Some voices called for the ship to be destroyed rather than continue the humiliation. Admiral Throck of the Proxima Fleet suggested using quantum torpedoes to crack the vessel's hull. "If we can't command it, we should ensure no one else can either." But Federation scientists argued that destroying the ship would be like burning down a library of impossible knowledge. The technology aboard that vessel could advance galactic civilization by thousands of years. The debate raged for weeks while the mysterious ship floated in the void nebula, its weapons silent, its engines cold, waiting for something that none of the galaxy's greatest minds could provide. Fleet Admiral Zethkor, S8, tentacles writhed like angry snakes around his bulbous head as he stared at the holographic display in the Federation Command Center. The massive alien had commanded fleets for over 4 centuries, watching civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. But today he was hearing the most ridiculous suggestion of his entire career. "Humans," his voice bubbled through the translation device, making wet, disgusted sounds. "Supreme Commander, surely you're not serious. These creatures barely learned to leave their own solar system. They still use chemical propulsion for half their fleet." Supreme Commander Varash floated in his anti-gravity chamber, his massive brain visible through the transparent dome that housed his frail body. As the leader of the Galactic Federation, he had made difficult decisions before, but this one seemed impossible even to him. "Admiral, look at the facts." Varash's mental voice spoke directly into the minds of everyone in the room. 12 of our greatest commanders have failed. The Vorthok Empire's most successful admiral was rejected like a virus. The Krillian warrior was nearly killed. Even the Etherian sage fled in terror. The holographic display showed Earth's pathetic fleet, a few dozen ships that looked like toys compared to Federation dreadnoughts. Most were barely armed exploration vessels. Their flagship was a cruiser that wouldn't qualify as an escort ship in any proper fleet. "But Sir," Admiral Zethkor protested, his tentacles coiling tighter with stress. "Humans have been in space for only 200 years. We have civilizations that were building starships when their species was still living in caves. What could they possibly do that we cannot?" Dr. Cassandra, the Federation's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. Her insectoid body clicked as she moved, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic light. "Perhaps that's exactly why they might succeed," she said, her mandibles clicking rapidly. "Every species we've sent has been highly advanced, highly evolved. What if the ship is looking for something ... primitive?" The room fell silent. The idea was almost insulting to the advanced civilizations that made up the Federation. But after 6 months of failure, even insulting ideas deserved consideration. "The humans have something else," added Intelligence Director Morkex, his scaled head tilting thoughtfully. "They're the only species that's still developing, still changing. Every other race in the Federation has been stable for thousands of years. Maybe the ship wants something ... unexpected." 3 days later, in the Outer Rim territories near the Centauri border, Captain Daeho Kim was having a very ordinary day. His ship, the Soul's Pride, was conducting routine patrols in one of the quieter sectors of Federation space. At 35 years old, Kim was young for a starship captain, but he had earned his command through a combination of skill, courage, and the kind of stubborn determination that seemed to run in his family. The Soul's Pride wasn't much to look at, a Meridian-class frigate that was already considered outdated when humans first joined the Federation. But Kim and his crew had turned it into something special through sheer hard work and ingenuity. They had jerry-rigged improvements that made their small ship punch above its weight class, and their success rate on missions was better than ships twice their size. Kim was reviewing patrol reports when the priority transmission came through. The encryption was so high that it took their computer several minutes just to decode the message. When it finally appeared on his screen, Kim read it twice before his brain could process what he was seeing. "Lieutenant Park," he called to his first officer. "You need to see this." Hyjin Park was a tough woman who had grown up in the asteroid mining colonies. She had joined the space service to see the galaxy, and in 5 years of service, she had never backed down from a challenge. But when she read the orders, her hand instinctively moved to check her sidearm. "Captain, they want us to board that thing." Her voice was steady, but Kim could see the concern in her eyes. The ship that rejected 12 Federation commanders, the one that nearly killed that Krillian warrior. Kim looked around the bridge at his small crew. There were only 30 humans aboard the Soul's Pride, making it one of the smallest ships in the Federation fleet. Most alien species considered it barely worthy of being called a starship, but these 30 people had become like family to him over the past 3 years. "Apparently so," Kim said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Command thinks that maybe a human approach might work where the others failed. Something about us being ... different." Sergeant Taemin Choi, their security chief, looked up from his weapon maintenance. "Different how? More stupid, maybe," Kim admitted with a grin. "We didn't join the space service for safe assignments, did we?" The crew exchanged glances. They all knew the stories about the mysterious ship. The entire galaxy had been talking about it for months. But orders were orders, and humans had a reputation for taking on impossible tasks. "Plot a course for the Void Nebula," Kim commanded, "maximum speed, and send a message to command. Tell them we're on our way." As the Soul's Pride changed course toward the nebula, news of the human attempt spread quickly through Federation channels. Most alien species reacted with disbelief, amusement, or outright concern for human safety. When they finally arrived at the nebula, Kim was amazed by what he saw. Dozens of ships from different species floated at safe distances around the mysterious vessel, like spectators at a gladiator match. Everyone wanted to watch the humans fail or possibly succeed in ways that would embarrass their own leaders. Alien observation ships were magnificent, kilometer-long dreadnoughts with weapons that could crack planets, science vessels with sensors that could analyze individual atoms, and command ships housing admirals who had conquered star systems. Compared to them, the Soul's Pride looked like a child's toy. "Captain," Park reported from the sensor station, "we're being hailed by Admiral Quinthara's flagship. She wants to know if we need medical support standing by." Kim almost laughed. The crystalline admiral was asking if they needed medical help, after she herself had been thrown across a bridge by force fields. "Tell her we appreciate the concern, but we'll handle our own medical needs." As they approached the massive ship, Kim felt a strange sensation. It was like being watched by something vast and ancient. The symbols on the ship's hull seemed to pulse brighter as they got closer, as if the vessel was studying them with the same intensity they were studying it. "All right, people," Kim announced to his crew. "We're about to attempt something that 12 Federation commanders couldn't do. We're either about to make history, or we're about to become a very small part of it. Everyone ready?" The crew nodded, their faces showing the mixture of fear and determination that had carried humanity to the stars. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The corridors of the ancient ship stretched before Captain Kim like the halls of a sleeping giant. Each footstep echoed through spaces so vast that the sound seemed to disappear into darkness before returning as whispers. The air itself felt heavy with age and secrets, as if the ship had been holding its breath for centuries. Behind Kim, Lieutenant Park kept her pulse rifle ready, scanning every shadow with trained eyes. Her combat boots made sharp clicks against the strange metal floor, a sound that seemed too small in such enormous spaces. Sergeant Choi brought up the rear, his heavy assault weapon sweeping back and forth as he watched for any sign of danger. "This place gives me the creeps," Park whispered, her voice barely audible in the vast corridor. "It's like walking through a tomb the size of a city," Choi added, his eyes never stopping their constant scan of their surroundings. "Captain, are you sure about this? Every other commander who tried this ended up hurt or worse." Kim paused for a moment, looking at the symbols that covered the walls around them. They seemed to shift and move when he wasn't looking directly at them, like living things trapped in metal. But unlike the other alien commanders, Kim didn't feel threatened by them. If anything, they seemed ... familiar. "We've come this far," Kim said quietly. Besides, running away never solved anything. The ship around them remained perfectly silent. No humming of engines, no whisper of air recycling systems, no electronic beeps or warnings. It was as if the entire vessel was waiting for something. The emergency lighting that had activated when they boarded provided just enough illumination to see, casting long shadows that danced with their movements. They had been walking for nearly an hour when they finally reached the bridge. The massive doors that blocked their path were unlike anything Kim had ever seen. They were made of the same dark metal as the ship's hull, but they seemed to absorb light completely. Even their flashlights couldn't illuminate the surface properly. "These are the doors that sealed after throwing out Captain Morjagol," Park said, checking her scanner readings. "According to Federation reports, they haven't opened since." Kim studied the smooth surface. There were no visible controls, no keypads or biometric scanners, just blank metal that seemed to drink in the light around it. He could see his reflection in the surface, but it looked strange, as if the metal was showing him something slightly different than what he expected. "The other commanders tried to force their way in," Kim said thoughtfully. "Maybe we should try a different approach." He holstered his sidearm and stepped closer to the door. The metal seemed to grow warmer as he approached, though that might have been his imagination. Taking a deep breath, Kim placed his palm flat against the surface. The reaction was immediate and incredible. Light exploded throughout the ship, like a sunrise happening in far corridor after corridor blazed to life, revealing the true scale of the vessel they had entered. Through the walls, they could hear the deep rumble of systems activating after centuries of sleep. Displays materialized in the air around them, showing star charts and navigation data in script that made Kim's heart skip a beat. The writing was in perfect Korean, as clear and readable as if it had been written yesterday. The massive doors didn't swing open or slide apart. Instead, they simply dissolved like morning mist, the solid metal becoming transparent and then vanishing entirely. As the three humans stepped through, the doors reformed behind them, sealing them inside the bridge. The bridge itself defied description. It was a perfect sphere of crystalline walls, suspended in the center of a much larger chamber. Stars were visible through the transparent surface, but they seemed brighter and clearer than they should have been. The captain's chair sat in the center of the sphere, a throne-like structure that pulsed with soft blue light. "Holy ... Choi started to say, then stopped as the voice filled the chamber. "Genetic pattern confirmed. Neural pathways verified. Consciousness, matrix compatible." But this time, the voice that had rejected every alien commander spoke in perfect Korean. The tone was warm and welcoming, like greeting an old friend after a long absence. "Welcome home, children of Terra. I am the Biker, guardian ship of the First Dynasty. I have waited 847,000 years for your return." Park's rifle nearly slipped from her hands. Choi's mouth hung open in shock. But Kim felt something different, a sense of coming home that he couldn't explain. "Baiko?" Kim asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "First Dynasty. I don't understand. We're just humans from Earth." The voice that answered seemed to smile, though that was impossible for an artificial intelligence. "Your people's memory has been shortened by the long dark. The Great Withdrawal erased much from your records, but your blood remembers what your minds have forgotten. Your souls carry the truth that your histories have lost." Holographic displays activated around them, showing images that took Kim's breath away. Vast fleets of ships like this one, but smaller. Worlds covered in cities that reached toward the stars, beings that looked human but seemed somehow more, their eyes holding wisdom that spoke of ages. "We are your ancestors, Captain Kim Daeho of the Seoul Confederation. You are the children of the First Dynasty, the builders of the great ships, the seeders of worlds. Please, take your rightful place." Kim looked at the captain's chair, then at his two companions. Park nodded encouragingly, while Choi gave him a thumbs up. With trembling hands, Kim approached the throne. The moment he sat down, the universe changed. Knowledge flooded into his mind like a dam bursting, not painful like the telepathic assault that had driven away the Etherean sage, but gentle and warm like memories returning after a long sleep. He saw the galaxy as it had been nearly 1,000,000 years ago, when humans had built an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. He saw the great ships like Baiko, guardians and protectors of human space. He saw the decision to withdraw, to let the younger species grow without interference. He saw the long sleep, the waiting, the hope that someday humanity would return to claim their heritage. "We never left," Kim whispered, understanding flooding through him. "We just forgot. The blood remembers," Baiko replied. "The soul remembers. And now, the awakening begins." Through the ship's sensors, Kim could see the alien observation ships maintaining their distance. Soon they would learn that humanity was not the newcomer species they had believed. Soon, the galaxy would remember who had taught them to reach for the stars. The age of human expansion was about to begin again. The bridge of the Baiko transformed into something beyond imagination. The crystalline walls became transparent, revealing not just the stars outside, but the galaxy itself as it truly was. Holographic displays materialized in the air around them, showing star maps that stretched across the entire known universe. Captain Kim gasped as thousands of points of light appeared before him, each one marked with the same symbols that covered Baiko's hull. These weren't just stars, they were worlds, entire solar systems that had once been home to humanity's ancestors. "My God," Lieutenant Park whispered, her weapon forgotten as she stared at the incredible display. "There are so many of them, thousands of worlds, all connected by the same markings." The star chart showed trade routes that spanned the galaxy, connecting human colonies that had thrived when other species were still learning to make fire. Massive space stations orbited dead stars, their purposes mysterious but clearly advanced beyond anything the current Federation had achieved. "We were the first ones," Kim said, his voice filled with awe and disbelief. "Before the Vorthok Empire existed, before the Krillians conquered their first world, before any of the great civilizations arose, we were already here. We seeded the galaxy with life and technology." Baiko's voice filled the bridge, warm and proud like a parent sharing family history. "Your ancestors were explorers, builders, teachers. They discovered faster than light travel when the galaxy was young and empty. For hundreds of thousands of years, they spread across the stars, establishing colonies, building great works, nurturing younger species." Sergeant Choi shook his head in amazement. "But what happened to them? Why don't we remember any of this?" The star chart shifted, showing the galaxy in a different time period. Many of the human worlds had grown dim, their lights fading one by one, but it wasn't destruction, it was something else entirely. "The Great Withdrawal," Baiko explained. "As the younger species began to develop their own civilizations, your ancestors faced a choice. They could remain as gods among mortals, ruling over species that worshipped them as divine beings, or they could retreat, allowing the galaxy to grow and develop naturally." Kim watched as the holographic display showed massive fleets of ships like Baiko but smaller, converging on a single blue world at the galaxy's edge. Earth, his home. They chose to leave, he realized. They gave up an entire galactic empire to let other species find their own way. "Yes," Baiko confirmed, "but they were wise. They knew that true growth comes from struggle, from learning, from making mistakes and overcoming them. They programmed ships like me to wait, to guard the most important knowledge until humanity was ready to reclaim its birthright." Lieutenant Park was studying readings from her scanner, her face pale with shock. "Captain, according to these energy signatures, there are more ships like this one. Dozens of them, hidden throughout the galaxy. Guardian ships," Baiko said, "each one waiting for the day when humans would return to the stars. Each one containing the keys to technologies that your ancestors developed over millennia of exploration." Choi laughed, but it was a sound without humor. "No wonder the aliens treat us like primitive newcomers. They have no idea who we really are." Kim was beginning to understand the full scope of what they had discovered. Their legends, their mythology. The stories every species tells about the first ones who gave them fire and taught them to reach for the stars. "That was us," he said quietly. "That was humanity." The external sensors showed the Federation observation ships still maintaining their safe distances. Admiral Quintharis' crystalline dreadnought, Captain Morjigul's Krillian battle, the Etherian science vessels, all of them waiting to see if the humans would fail like everyone else. Kim activated Baiko's communication systems. The ship's transmitters were more powerful than anything in the Federation fleet, capable of reaching across the entire galaxy if needed. "Federation Command, this is Captain Kim Daeho aboard the vessel B. We have successfully established command and control of this ship." The response came immediately, voices from multiple ships speaking at once in confusion and disbelief. "Impossible. How did you? Our greatest commanders couldn't." "The Krilli Empire demands an explanation. The Vorthok want to know what trickery you used." Kim smiled, looking at his two companions who had shared this incredible discovery with him. "There was no trickery. This ship, and others like it, were built by and for humans. We're not the newest species in the galaxy, we're the oldest. The silence that followed was deafening. Kim could imagine the chaos erupting on bridges across the observation fleet as alien commanders tried to process what they had just heard. That's impossible. Admiral Quanthara's crystalline voice finally rang out. Humans have barely achieved interstellar flight. You're primitives, newcomers. We're your predecessors, Kim interrupted. The Federation welcomed us as junior members, but the truth is, you've been part of our civilization all along. Every species in the galaxy owes their technological advancement to knowledge that humanity left behind. As if responding to his words, Baiko's engines came online for the first time in nearly 1,000,000 years. The sound was unlike anything that Federation observers had ever heard, a deep thrumming harmony that seemed to resonate through space itself. The ship's power signature immediately dwarfed every other vessel in the area. Weapon systems activated along Baiko's hull, revealing defensive capabilities that could obliterate entire fleets with a single volley. The ship's shields flickered to life, creating energy barriers that registered as impenetrable on every Federation scanner. Impossible, someone whispered over the communication channel. The power levels, they're off our instruments. Kim stood from the captain's chair, feeling the ship's vast consciousness linked with his own. He could sense every system, every weapon, every piece of technology that his ancestors had built into this incredible vessel. The age of human expansion is about to begin again, he said, his voice carrying across the galaxy through Baiko's transmitters. We've been gone for nearly 1,000,000 years, but we're back, and we're going home. Baiko began to move, its massive bulk accelerating with impossible grace. The ship that had seemed like a derelict tomb just hours ago now flew through space like a living thing, its every movement perfect and controlled. Behind them, the Federation observation fleet scrambled to keep up, their fastest ships struggling to match Baiko's effortless speed. The aliens who had spent months trying to command this vessel now watched in awe as 3 humans piloted it with the skill of born Starship captains. Kim looked out at the stars ahead, knowing that somewhere among them were the other Guardian ships, waiting for their human crews to find them. The galaxy was about to discover that the species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers were actually the inheritors of the greatest empire in galactic history. Humanity had returned to the stars, and nothing would ever be the same. The end.